A very good afternoon to all the students here. So I hope the preparation is going in full swing. And the topic that we're going to start today is the theory of production and cost. Now, when we talk about production, we have already discussed about the consumer demand. We have already discussed about the producers or the sellers supply. The main topic that comes is this, that whatever the subject matter has been prepared, how do we produce it? And let's say even we have produced it, how do we fix the cost of it, which is very much required to understand what the price of that particular product is going to be. Okay. So we need to first have a clear focus on how this whole concept of production works. Okay. So I'm sure you must have done the complete detailed lecture in the classes that has been given to you, the links already provided to you. I would suggest that make sure that every class that you're attending, before coming for the revision class, look at the detailed class. Okay. So anyways, we're going to take the complete gist of the whole topic. So the first thing that we need to understand, what is production? What is production? In a very simple and in a very layman's language, production primarily means we have input, we have a complete process of it, and that complete process gives us an output. Okay. So whatever input is given, maybe for example, raw material, you put it in a system and that gives you an output. For example, if I talk about a cotton or a thread, or maybe for that matter, cloth, this is the raw material or the input. Then you put a lot of machine power, maybe for example, the hand loom or the power loom, etc. Plus then you put, different things, and then you give the output, that is the t-shirt. Okay. So whenever we talk about production, production is one basic concept wherein we are going to discuss about this fact that how the resources are completed into full and final product, which is of great utility and which is of the use to the end consumer. Okay. So production, if you understand, it's a very simple process. And what does that simple process basically mean? It means that the inputs, after the utilization of the resources, will get converted into a finished product in the form of goods and services to basically satisfy the demand of that particular resource. Okay. Now we have natural resources, and that natural resources we converted into the goods and services. For example, if I talk about one concept, we have all the different materials. Okay. What we do is this, we utilize our personal skills in the form of service, in the form of goods, etc., in the material, and we give the final output. Okay. That whole process is what is known as the production. Now, whenever we are doing production, we have primarily the factors of production with us. And what are factors of production? Factors of production is nothing but the inputs. These inputs that you put into the process to yield the output is what is known as the factor of production. And factor of production we divide primarily into 4 parts, that is land, labor, capital, and the entrepreneurship. What is land? Now, let's say, for example, I am providing a service to you, and what is that service? Maybe teaching. So the first thing that I'm doing is this, I require a premise to speak to you. So for that matter, I have a, not necessarily, see, nowadays when it is coming to the virtual mode of doing a business or providing goods and services, even the internet is a base, correct? But also otherwise, either I have to take a place on a rent to take your classes physically, and in virtually, again, I require this whole infrastructure of the room, maybe the internet, etc. So this whole concept of the area, of the property, or the place wherein I'm sitting and delivering my goods and service, that is what is known as land. Okay. Second is labor. Let's say I am doing this work of teaching you, but during this work of teaching you, I require a team. I require a team for maybe the technical support. I require the team maybe for the infra support. I require a team maybe for the logistics. I require a team maybe for some other various aspect. Correct. So second thing that we need to understand is the labor. When it comes to labor, what happens is this: you are going to find out a point wherein you will understand how this whole analysis is going to take place, how this concept is going to take place. Okay. Third is going to be capital. When we talk about capital, capital is something wherein you put money, the funds that is required, the financial resource that is required. And that financial resource is something which is primarily required to utilize the resources and to channelize other various resources. And last is entrepreneurship. So, for example, ICAI is the entrepreneur to bring this virtual classes into go. Okay. Same way as if, let's say, for example, you are running a business and you're producing pens. So that entrepreneur is somebody who brings all the resources together and then put it into the business. So that skill of taking initiative, that skill of collaborating with people is what is the factors of production. Okay. So land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship is something which will be collectively utilized. And when they utilize it collectively, they bring a product as an outcome. Okay. Let's see if there's any query up till here, or else we will start with the discussion of land in detail. One second. Just one second. Okay. Okay, perfect. So as of now, there's no query. So we'll come back to what the land says. So when we talk about land, land is something wherein we have all free gift of resources, the gift of nature, like for example, the soil, the water, air, etc. So first thing that we need to understand in a very simple parlance, the area wherein you start your business, the natural resource wherein you start your business is what is known as land. So wherever you have all the free resources of nature, be it natural resources, be it the soil, water, light, heat, etc., that is what is going to come in land. Now, this land is free gift of nature. You need to understand that land is something which has got no supply price, that no payment is to be made. But you know what? We cannot understand that it's a free thing. The only thing is this, that it is not producible. I cannot produce it man-made. However, now again, there's a contradiction to this fact that with the technology, a lot of things are getting created, but still land is something which is not to be created by human. It's just there on the earth which has to be utilized. Second, its supply is fixed. Like I said, it is strictly limited in quantity. You have to understand how and where the total quantum of the land is going to be. Third, it is permanent and has indestructible power. It is permanent in power. You cannot destroy it or you cannot damage it. I do not say that it can be fertile or infertile or it cannot be infertile. No, yes, it can be infertile, but you cannot damage it. You cannot remove land from the earth. Correct? It's a passive factor. See, what is the difference between a passive factor and an active factor? I'll make you understand this. If I talk about a human being is the one who is an active factor, who works on his own. But land never works on its own. Land requires the effort of human being to get involved. So land is a passive factor and the labor is a active factor. Next is land is immobile. Can you move land from one place to another? You cannot. Okay. So this is something which is which cannot be shifted physically from one place to another. Next, it has multiple uses. When it says it's a multiple uses, it basically means that all the uses are not at all same. Okay. When I say it's not at all same, that means it can be utilized for a wide purpose. And last, it is heterogeneous. Two lands cannot be absolutely same. They might differ in fertility, they might differ in situation, they might differ in location, etc. Okay. Next is labor. When I talk about labor, labor is something wherein you put your mental and physical well-being. Something wherein you put your mental resources or physical resources to get the work done. Again, when you compare between labor and land, the major difference comes is this, that the labor is an active, the active resource. Whereas when you talk about land, it is something which is a passive resource which cannot be utilized on itself. Okay. I hope the land resource is clear to everybody. Okay. Now, if there's any doubt, just put it in the group, and then we will start with the labor. Okay. Okay. Labor, if we talk about labor, is something which believes, which is primarily into simple fact that how the resources are going to be used mentally and physically to produce those goods and services. So that is one active resource. That is something which is the resource utilized of efforts of both body and mind. Okay. Now, again, when you talk about labor, there are certain characteristics of it. First, it is human effort. When I say human effort, that means obviously your various other factors like the psychological availability, the consideration, etc., comes into consideration. Second, it is perishable. It is perishable. That means you cannot store it. When I say you cannot store it, that simply means that if a particular labor has 24 hours in a day, which every human being has got, I cannot save that 5 hours for tomorrow. It is something which is very perishable. You use it or you do not use it, finish it. Third, it is an active factor. When I talk about active factor, this is something about the main fundamental that until and unless labor is not involved in anything, none of the other resource works. Be it fund, that is the capital, be it the land. Imagine, Devinder, you have a 1 lakh rupees in your bank account. You just keep it in the bank account. Devinder, do you think it is going to get changed? Will it yield profit on its own? Yes, Devinder? Navya? Do you think it could be changed? No. Okay. So whenever we talk about this point, they basically imply that whenever we are talking about the labor, it is something which is perishable. You cannot use it in the next day. And second, it is an active factor. You cannot use it without, the land and capital cannot produce without the utilization of the labor. Next, it is inseparable from the labor. If I'm teaching you, I'm the labor. Can you separate my teaching from myself? No. The only thing that you do is this, that you a lecture and you view it separately. But again, you are recording it, no? You're viewing it in the correct. So it is something which is inseparable from the labor. Next, labor power differs from laborer to laborer. That means it is heterogeneous. And because it is heterogeneous and it is varying, you have to have the efficiency and incentive to work. So it is something which is heterogeneous, that the labor power differs from person to person. Next, all labor may not be productive. Please understand this fact. that it is not necessarily, like for example, 1 lakh rupees in bank account A and 1 lakh rupees in bank account B are equally efficient. But two laborer 1 and laborer 2 cannot be equally efficient. Okay. Next, labor has poor bargaining power. And especially when in country of India, we have a major problem because of the population explosion and because of the huge population, we have a very weak bargaining power. So we need to understand that in any which ways, employers at times are exploiting the labor, due to which the negotiation powers go low. However, again, I would say it's not always. There are exceptions to every rule, but we are talking about the generality. Labor is mobile. Mobile means something which can move, correct? Which can move from place to place. So whenever we talk about labor, labor is something which moves from one job to another, from one place to another. So because the workers can move from one place to another, one job from another, it becomes very easy to work. And that is the one major part wherein the organization achieves its target. Why? Because many times see that there's an overstaffing in one place, they will move people from that place to another place wherein there is an understaffing. Okay. Next, there is no rapid adjustment of supply of labor to the demand for it. It says that whatever the total supply is, you cannot increase it. For example, if I can work 18 man hours, one person working for 18 hours, if I can work for 18 hours, it is going to be 18 hours only. You cannot increase it to 25 hours. Why? Because I also have to have a leisure time. Correct? I need to have a basic time to sleep. This is something which is very much required. The most important one that I already have discussed with you, the choice between hours of labor and hours of leisure. This one. If you see, this is basically that says that the supply curve of labor is backward bending. Look at this. This is going backward bending. What is front or ahead bending? This, no. The labor hours is always backward bending. Why is it backward bending? It is backward bending because as the wage rate increases, the labor says that it implies that as the wage rate increases, the laborer tend to increase the supply of labor by reducing the hour of leisure. But you know what eventually happens? After a time wherein he has earned a lot of money, he says that now I require rest and leisure rather than earning more money. So this is why this whole concept of the labor and the supply curve of labor is backward bending, which says that first thing that you need to understand, when you start earning, you want to earn, you say, I will rest less. But after a period of time, you always say this fact that no, never mind. I have earned a good amount. Now I want to rest more, even if I'm earning less. Why? Because I have already earned it. I'm not going to be in the race forever. No. So this is what is one very important thing, that why is the supply curve of labor always backward bent? Okay. So please read this right now and then we will move ahead with the capital. See, like I'm saying, it's a revision class. We are going to briefly touch upon all the topics because I have to cover both production and cost in this class. So in 2 hours, both the things have to be completed. So I request you all, first thing, that always when you are coming for a class, make sure that you read the detailed class. Okay. Second thing is this, that uh, any kind of a problem that you face while understanding it, please feel free to put it on the query link that you already have. Okay. Any doubt up till here? Come on. Okay, perfect. So as of now, I haven't received any doubt. Let's move further towards the capital. What is capital? Can anybody say? Come on, raise your hands. Yes, Abhinandan. What is capital? Ashok sir? Ashok sir? Can the students also unmute themselves? स्टूडेंट्स अनम्यूट कर सकते हैं अपने आप को? एक बार अभी करना है. Okay, Abhinandan. Can I understand what is capital?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Abhinandan.
Ma'am, anything invested by the owner in the business, that is
Okay.
called capital.
Okay. Yes, Joy.
Capital means any amount or any assets which is invested by the owner for a specific period of time to run a business.
Okay. And is it just to run a business?
No, it can be for the purpose of. Ma'am, I'm quite confused.
No problem. Sir, you can mute them again. See, Joy spoke about one part of capital, that you put the money, but what I do after putting the money, my target is this, like Abhinandan said, our target is you put the money to yield more benefit out of it. So, for example, if I put a money in my business, what is my target? My target is to earn profit out of it. Correct? To earn wealth out of it. Correct? So, whenever I talk about capital, capital is that part of wealth of an individual which is primarily for the further production of the wealth. Understand? It is that part of wealth which is used for further production of wealth. So, for example, if I put 100 rupees in any business, I have a target of earning 105 to earn future benefits. That is what is known as capital. So, whenever we talk about capital, it is nothing but the wealth which is there, which is utilized eventually to use the resources to help have a factors of production, to have man-made instruments of production, to get future benefits, to earn more future profits. Okay, so whatever machine, tools, instruments, factories, dams, canals, equipments, etc., all these things would go under the definition of capital. One thing. Now, let's understand what are the types of capital. The first type of capital is the fixed capital. What is fixed capital? Something which is fixed in nature. When I say fixed in nature, that primarily means the tools, machines, etc. So, something which is durable. When I say durable, durable means something which stays for a period. Like, for example, if I wear this t-shirt, am I going to throw it tomorrow only? No, I will not. I will keep it for a while, maybe 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, 1 year. And then maybe after a year, I'll feel bored with it. I'll throw it away. But when I talk about bread, for example, I'm just giving you an example to understand what is fixed and fluctuating. When I talk about bread, bread is something which is consumed. The moment it is consumed, it's gone. Okay. So first thing that you need to understand is the fixed capital. Fixed capital says something which is durable in nature, like tools, machines, etc. Second is circulating capital. When I talk about circulating capital, it is the one which is not available for further use. For example, the raw material. The cotton was used. The cotton was made as this t-shirt. So this cotton has gone. That is the circulating capital. But this t-shirt stays forever. The machine by which the t-shirt was made stays forever. So that is a fixed capital. Third, real capital. something which is physical goods in nature, something which can be seen, touched, etc. More or less like a tangible capital. Okay. So when I talk about real capital, it is like building, machine, plants, etc. What is human capital? Something which requires human skills and ability, something which requires into creation of these abilities into humans. That is what is known as human capital. Tangible capital, like I said, something which can be seen and touched, but intangible capital means something which cannot be seen, which cannot be touched, like, for example, goodwill. Many of you must be wanting to go to Starbucks coffee and have coffee. Why do you want to do that? It has got a brand value. I want to put it on my Instagram page. I want to put it on another social media of mine, showing that, okay, I want to drink that coffee. I'm drinking that coffee. Correct? That is what is the brand value. That is what is the goodwill of that product. It's an intangible capital. You cannot see it. You cannot touch it. You can just feel it. Correct? Okay. Next is individual capital. Individual capital is something which is primarily owned by the individual or the group of individuals. So, for example, if I talk about the individual or a group of individuals, when they come together, they have a personal property owned. That's an individual capital. For example, I own it. Ambani's own it. Adani owns it. But something which is belonging to every citizen of the country, maybe roads, bridges, dams, buildings, etc., that would go to social capital. So there's a difference here. Individual capital and social capital. Next is capital formation. What is capital formation? Okay, let's do one thing. I would like you to read up till social capital and then give me doubts. Okay. Then we will proceed further. Just give me doubts up till here. Give me the doubts right now. Parul, I will take the doubts at the end. As of now, you can put it on the portal that you have already. The rest of the other doubts, one-on-one, we will take it. But otherwise, if there's any doubt up till the topic that I've taught, please feel free to put it in the portal right now. Okay, so Parul, you can put it on the portal and then we can discuss it here. Okay. Okay, perfect. Now, social capital and individual capital is very much clear to you. When I say individual capital, that means something which is owned by me. When I say social capital means something which belongs to the whole society. Okay, Parul has given me the doubt. 1 second. In labor characteristics. Yes, Parul, what is the doubt in the labor capital? Okay. Point number 4. And circulating capital. Perfect. 1 second. First, I'll take the doubt circulating capital. What is circulating capital? What do you mean by the literal word circulating? Circulating means something which rotates, something which keeps on moving. So, for example, if I say fuel, is the fuel going to be staying there in the organization? No. Is the raw material going to be there in the organization? No. Is the seeds going to be completely fixed there in the organization? No. But the land is going to be there, no? So land is fixed capital. Land doesn't move. Land doesn't get over. But the seeds get over. Fuel get over. Raw material get over. Correct? So circulating capital is something which gets over after the usage. Fixed capital, on the other way, is something which is constant, which is not changing. I hope this doubt is clear. Kirtana. Okay, perfect. Kirtana's doubt is clear. Next is social capital. Somebody asked me, what is social capital? What is social? Social means something which belongs to society. Now, let's say, for example, if I say, this is my pen, okay, maybe because of the background, you're not able to see. I have a pen in my hand. This is my pen. This is Tisha's pen. This is individual capital. But I'm drinking water. Do I own it? No. It's owned by the government of the country or maybe the natural resources, etc. Can I have an exclusive right on itself? No, I cannot. That is a social capital. Can I block a road saying the fact that, okay, nobody else can travel? It is road in front of my house. I pay taxes for it. No, never written anywhere. So social capital is those capital resources which is owned by society at a large, not just by you. Okay, Parul, social capital clear? Okay, next, labor point number 4. Labor is inseparable from the laborer. What does that say? That simply says, for example, if I am getting X rupee to deliver this lecture to people sitting in front of me, can I not be physically present and still I get the money? No, I will not get it. For any service that a labor is hired, physically or virtually, the labor has to be there to deliver the service or good, maybe, for example. So even if the farmers are working in the farm, in the field, if they are physically required there, they will have to be there. There is no option available that, okay, you get your salary in your account without even doing the work. Does that fall? No. Okay, Parul, I hope it's all clear to you. Okay, perfect. So land is clear, labor is clear, capital is clear. Next is, what is capital formation? Please understand, capital formation is basically the sustained increase in the stock of real capital that you have. So for example, if you have production of more capital goods like machine, tool, factories, transport equipment, electricity, etc., that is what is known as the capital formation. This is something which is for the further production of goods. Something which is also known as investment. Okay. So whenever we talk about capital formation is something which is known as the investment. It is not merely for replacement and renovation, but is to create additional productive activities or productive capacity. So whenever we talk about capital formation is wherein you enhance the production and productivity capacity. You want to increase a manifold of a resource as compared to what you have. Okay. So first, let's understand what are the stages of capital formation. So for the stages of capital formation, the first one is saving. What is saving? I get 100 rupees as an income. When I get 100 rupees as income, I utilize and I keep 30 rupees separate to be used for a rainy day of mine. That is what is known as saving. What is saving? I hope you understand. Even if you have a family from business class or maybe service class, whichever category your parents are working into, do they spend whatever they earn? No, never. I don't think so. So willingness to keep something for future, to keep something saved with yourself, that is what is known as saving. So whenever we talk about saving, saving is something wherein you decide how particular resources are going to be utilized. How you can utilize into future. Why? Because you don't want to spend it all together. Okay. So that is what is known as the saving. Next is mobilization of saving. one very interesting thing. If I have 100 rupees of my income, just keeping it in the bank locker, will that give me anything? No. Just putting that 100 rupees into the locker will not give me any kind of a benefit. Correct? So whenever I talk about the mobilization of saving is wherein my resources are going to be utilized in such a way that yes, the whole capital formation takes place. You utilize the saving in such a way, you circulate it into such a way, you put it in the financial product, you put it in mutual funds, you put it in bank FDs, etc. You mobilize. And the third one is investment. What is investment? Investment is putting the resource in the new capital assets, in the creation of a new capital assets. You buy property, you buy gold, you put it in a land, you put it into various other technological advancements, etc. That is what is known as investment. So something that you put to get a benefit in future is what is known as investment. I hope this is clear. So we have covered primarily capital, land, and labor. And the last one is going to be entrepreneurship. So again, I would like to understand if there is any doubt up till here, or else we will start with the entrepreneurship. Any doubt up till here? Come on, put it in the chat box. That's the most convenient way. You can put it here also in the chat box. Navya, I'll take up your elastic concept of land here. Just give me some time. Yes, Yashika, somewhat circulating capital is working capital. Why? Because working capital again is something which is used for a day-to-day routine. Very valid. Navya, I'll take up your point. Elastic concept of land is basically, you cannot, what is elasticity? You just have studied elasticity of supply. I mean, in the last classes. Can you increase the supply of land at your own whims and fancies? No, you cannot. Okay. So that is what is the elasticity of supply. Okay. The next one is the entrepreneurship. Now, when I talk about entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship is something wherein we are utilizing the land, labor, and capital until and unless there is not one resource to bring them all together. The organizer, the manager, the risk taker, the initiator, that is what is known as entrepreneur. So entrepreneur is somebody who takes care of all the resources, who basically takes care of this fact that what is the separation of ownership, what is the separation of management, how they put the resources together. That is what is known as the entrepreneur. So when you take the decision making of the resources, of the routine types, non-routine types, this would all go in the entrepreneurship. So when I talk about entrepreneurship, it is first thing, they bring the business resources together, they coordinate the resources together, and they bring the opportunity. So for example, this nano car came into the market. So when this nano car came into the market, the whole business was initiated by Tata. And that resource bringing together, that initiation of the business enterprise, that is what is done by the entrepreneur. And who is the entrepreneur here? The company Tata. Second, risk bearing. Had it been a nano car, a absolute failure, who would have borne the loss? The company. Okay. So whenever I talk about risk bearing or uncertainty bearing, they are the one who basically takes care of the whole planning of the resources. If any kind of a profit comes, it will not work. If any kind of a loss comes, it is to be absolutely borne by them. So it has, the entrepreneur has got the duty to bear all these financial risks. Okay. So any kind of a financial risk takes place, any kind of a technological risk takes place, all these feasibility has to be done, study has to be done by the entrepreneur himself or herself. Okay. Third is innovation. Please understand the major function of an entrepreneur is to bring innovation. Now, what happens was this, that in India, we have a very good taste for samosas and everything, correct? And nowadays, when we talk about youth like you also want to go to gym, you want to have a good health, good body, everything. Now there's a contradiction. My taste bud says I want to eat something unhealthy, and my mental well-being says I want to be healthy. And innovation came. Philips maybe came with an air fryer, with the whole concept of air fryer. What is it? It is bringing a new technology, new device, new technique overall, new innovation overall, primarily, which is required to have a progress, to bring something, to improve the standard of living of people. That is what is known as innovation. So whenever we talk about innovation, innovation is something wherein you believe that the society is capable of introducing the new things. Okay. So these are the basic concepts or the characteristics how the entrepreneur works. Next is the enterprise objectives and the constraints. What is this? What are the major objectives? Why does the enterprise work? So the first one is the organic objectives. When I say organic objectives means that all the resources, all the enterprises they have to survive or stay alive. They can survive only if it is able to produce and sell the goods and services. My basic thing is to survive. Growth, etc., will take place at the secondary stage. What is my stage right now? My stage is primarily that I should get what I have put in the business. Okay. So, for example, if I talk about organic objectives primarily say that I should survive in the business. I have to meet the basic obligation of my creditors, my suppliers, my employees, etc. And once I achieve my survival, I will go for growth and expansion. Okay, so you need to understand this fact also. Okay, so the managers have to understand how the profit is to be done, that my costs are going to get recovered. Second, economic objectives. Second thing that every entrepreneur generally works is this, that I should have the economic objective achieved. When I say economic objective, that simply means that my cost should be absolutely covered by the revenue. Also, the salaries, wages, etc. to my employees should be given. The normal profit is something which is a very much requirement for me as an entrepreneur, because I have put all my time, money, resource, everything. So normal profit is a very much part of cost. Abnormal profit is something which if I get, it's an extraordinary thing. It's an achievement. But please understand that the normal profit that I receive is going to be absolutely the part of cost. Okay. The remuneration for the labor that we have, the risk-bearing function of the entrepreneur. So these all things, the normal profit, etc., all these things would be part of cost. Okay. Now, after this, you need to understand there are certain social objectives also. When I say social objectives, that simply means that because you are staying in the market, you are dealing with people at a large, dealing with society at a large. You have to give back to the society. And what is that you need to give back to the society? First, do not sell the adulterated product. Do not sell the inferior quality product and take high price. I'm taking price of A quality, but giving D quality, not should be done. Second, I should not do absolutely antisocial practices like black marketing and hoarding. Again, the employment has to be generated. So you see many times, like for example, if I talk about the university where I studied, there was a very good initiative that there was a percentage of physically not absolutely stable people, maybe a little weak in any one part of the physical ability, they were given a reservation for the job. What is that? That is creating opportunities for the employment. No, you're giving equal growth to everybody. Also, you are taking back from the society so much. Why are you giving pollution of air, water, noise, etc. to the society? So the social objective says you have to take care that the quality of life is also good. The quality of society at a large is very good. Okay. Next is human objectives. Human objective says that you are utilizing one of the most important skill that a person has, that is the human skill. You have to take care as an entrepreneur that you give fair deal to all the employees. You develop their skills and abilities. You give them then opportunity to work. You make their job interesting and challenging. This is something which is required. Next is national objectives. When you talk about national objectives, what are they? Remove inequality, produce goods according to the national priorities. Now, for example, in India, when we see that the majority is either lower class income group or middle class income group, and you are producing only goods which are for the affluent class, are you doing something good to the society? No. You are just catering to that few 5% or maybe 3% of the whole population. What about the 95% population? So produce according to what the nation priorities are. Help country become self-reliant, and we should not be begging in front of the other country. And last, there should be a great skill formation for the growth and development of the nation. So something which is a national objective also. So whenever we are running an organization, it is not only and only for profit. We have to understand that there are a lot of other things besides profit also. Next is what are the constraints that we have among the factors. So the first major constraint is the lack of knowledge and information. Please understand. It is very difficult to gain every knowledge. So we have to understand that whenever the enterprises is functioning in the uncertain world, you have to gather as much as information you can. There are other problems, like for example, the free mobility of land and labor and capital. These contingencies should not take place. Again, that creates a problem in the working scenario. Infrastructural inadequacies. So how, like for example, in India, the tax department gives a great advantage for that. There are very hilly areas and tribal areas wherein people do not want to go and start their own businesses. What has government started? Government said that, okay, people there also require job. Those cities and those areas also require a lot of development. So government said, okay, if you put your factory there or you put your any kind of an institution there, we will give you a tax rebate. We will give you a tax benefit. This is how the infrastructural inadequacy can be compensated. If you see major medicines in India, you see that majority of the medicines are manufactured somewhere close to Himachal, the road towards Paonta Sahib or Baddi, etc. Why are those areas very much giving the business hike? Because the government says that you go in those areas, we will give you tax benefits. This is why they are going. They say we will give you tax benefits, we will give you electricity for free, we will give you water for free, etc., etc. This is how the enterprise objective and that limitation could be eradicated either by the business themselves or else by the government at large. Also, we need to understand that there are various other factors, like, for example, the change in government policies. I'll tell you one best example of it. The polythene industry was going at a full-fledged flow in the country. A government came very much pro towards environment. They said that beneath that particular micron level of polythene, it will be absolutely banned. Now, let's not get into it how much it is imposed or it is not imposed, but eventually the majority of the businesses had to eventually get closed. And yes, you can easily see that when you go to the weddings, we used to have those disposable cups and plates to have food, correct? The quality of it has been improvised because yes, the government is taking a lot of action for that. So you need to understand how these extraordinary things, something which is, which can be environmentally affecting, can be easily taken by the businesses at large. You also have to take care of the natural calamities, like for example, this COVID thing came. Many of the business, it's more or less like a natural calamity only that came. Fire, flood, etc. comes. So again, such kind of obstructions have to be checked by the businesses. Inflation, rising interest rate. These are the major constraint which takes place while the whole speed of the business is growing or doing anything. So this is something which takes place as a constraint in the business. Okay. Let's take a 10-minute break and we will resume with the enterprises problem after that, and then we will talk about the cost concepts. So Ashok sir, we'll take a 10-minute break. with the enterprise problems, that what are the major problems generally when the business start till the date when it closes, what are the major problem that every businesses are following. So the first one is the relation to the problem of objective. What is your problem of objective? When I say what is your problem of objective, that basically means that first very important thing is this: my objective is to earn profit. Now, when my objective of is earning profit, there could be a possibility that I am not putting good efforts on my quality. That is one problem, that I want to achieve one objective, but my second objective is not getting fulfilled. Second is the problem relating to location and size of plant. Another major issue comes is this: that where should I set up my business? There are various other problems. There, if electricity is there, water is not there. If water is not there, electricity is not there, and so on and so forth. Transportation is not proper, labor doesn't want to come, etc. So the second problem that comes is this: that where should I locate my business? Which is the most right location? Which is the most economical one? Another problem that emerges is this: that when we are doing the business, what should be the scale? The scale of the business says what it should be like. Should it go small scale? Should it go large scale? What are the financial aspect of it? What are the technical aspect of it? What are the managerial aspect of it? What should be the size of my business? That is my another problem. Next is problem relating to the selection and the organization of physical facilities. Now, another problem that comes is this: that which type of equipment should be there? What should be the process of production? What should be the layout of my building? What should be the layout of my equipments? That is another problem. Problem relating to finance. When I say finance, what funds? Where should I get it from? What will be the cost of getting that fund? There should not be an ideal fund, etc. Why not an ideal fund? Because you know what? If I take 100 rupees from Navya as a loan and I don't use it, still at the end of the month, Navya will come to me and say, "Ma'am, where is my interest? You better pay my interest." I'll say, I did not earn anything out of it. She says, "I'm not bothered about that fact. You took a loan from me. That is your bad planning, that you did not plan why and how much the loan is required. Your finance is lying idle. It should not take place." So that is the problem relating to finance. Okay. Next is problem relating to organization structure. When I say problem relating to organization structure, it has to divide the total work of the enterprise. What should be the proper departments, how they should be done, how it is to be functioned, what is the interrelationship, what is the span of control, authority, responsibility. That has to be clear and very clearly and crisply demarcated. What should be the roles of relationship, how we can function it properly, everything should come under this. Problem relating to marketing. Now the production has taken place, for example, the product has been manufactured, everything is done. The major problem comes: how do I sell it? You have made it, but I need to sell it. That is more important, no? So again, I have to talk about 4Ps here: product, promotion, price, and place. That's the 4P of marketing mix that you all know. Your product should be very good in features, quality, brand value, packaging, etc. Promotion. Your product, if lying in the shelf, will not speak for itself. You have to promote it. You have to advertise it. You have to personally sell it. You have to do publicity of it. Correct? Prices. What will be the price of it? What will be the discount of it? How much is the allowance? What is the credit terms and conditions? Are you giving any concession to it? That is the price. Place. I'm producing the apples in Kashmir, but it has been consumed even in Kerala. How do I distribute it? How do I locate it from one place to another place wherein there is a gap between the producer and the receiver, the customer? How to manage my inventory? How to manage my logistics with regard to that? Okay. Next is problem relating to the legal formalities. What are the number of legal formalities that we have? What is the time of launching the enterprise? You have to understand that there are a lot of things. And with the advancement of technology, etc., the kind of maintenance of records, everything is getting integrated. There's a lot of things, rules and regulations which is to be followed. What will be the control of pollution? What will be the size, the wage and bonus, etc.? This will be all problems relating to the legal formalities. Next is problem relating to the industrial relationships. When we talk about problems relating to the industrial relationships, you have to understand that there are major problems. Like, for example, the one of the major problem that every business faces is this, that the winning workers cooperation. You must have known this fact that there are a lot of unions which get created. Why is that union getting created? Because the employer has the habit of exploiting the employee. When you are trying to exploit the employee, what is going to happen? You are creating a problem. When you are going to create a problem, that is majorly issuing that the workers in the industry are not seamlessly working. There's some kind of a conflict which is coming. So those problems relating to the industrial relationships is of a great importance, which is to be resolved. Okay. So at length, we have already discussed about what are the resources, how the production process takes place, etc. Now let's very simply understand what is a production function. You know what is a resource, and you have said that, ma'am, there are 4 primary resources: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. I agree to that. Land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. All these 4 factors, they come together. That is the input. They go into a process and they yield out an output to it. They yield out an output to it. This whole process of conversion of the input to the output, that is what is known as production function. So the relationship between the scarce resources, that is the inputs, yielding to the output that it has got, that is what is known as the production function. Okay, so the production function is the quantity, which is the functional relationship of ABCD to N. And when ABCD to N, that basically means that therein we have 4 major factors: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Okay, so whenever we talk about this fact, land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship, this assumption is what is going to yield you the production function. Okay, that is what is now known as the production function. So production function is basically a relationship between what output can be produced utilizing the inputs that you have given the state of technology. Whatever the technology is there, you keep it as constant, and rest inputs, you put it all together. What output you yield, that is what is known as the functional relationship. Okay. Next is short run versus the long run production function. When you talk about short run and long run, please understand there are 2 kinds of time period. And before I say what is short run and long run, let me make you understand 1 second. I'll make you understand what are the factors of production. And when you have factors of production, that is primarily fixed factors of production and variable factors of production. Let's demarcate it into 2 parts simply. Now, when I talk about variable factors of production, that means which changes with the output. When I talk about fixed factors of production, this is constant with the output. I'll tell you one best example: land. Land is the constant with the output. When I say constant with the output, For example, if I have when we talk about constant output, that basically means, for example, when we talk about land is something which is not to be increased with the level of output. So, for example, if I say that I want about 1,000 kgs of wheat, and here we see it, 1,000 kgs of wheat, and which can be easily produced on one part of land. I say I want another 2,000 kgs of wheat. Do you go tomorrow and buy a land? No. But if you want that, okay, maybe one farmer will not be enough to cultivate it. I require another one more farmer, because initially I had just 1,000 kg of wheat's demand. Now, because the demand is increasing, I can easily increase the number of labor to increase the production. That is known as the variable factor of production. But the factor of production which does not change with the change in the output, that is known as the fixed factors of production. Another best example would be, what is the other best example with relate to it? That is the machine and cloth. So if I want one t-shirt, I require 1 meter of cloth. So obviously if I require 5 t-shirts, I require 5 meters of cloth. So you have to understand that. Okay. So whenever we talk about short run and long run production function, first thing that should be clear in my mind is what is long run and what is short run. So to understand what is long run and what is short run, first I need to understand what is a fixed factor of production and what is a variable factor of production. So that factor of production which can be changed with the level of output, that's the variable. But which cannot be changed with the level of output, that is known as the fixed factor of production. So the long run is that time period wherein you can even change your fixed factors of production. Now, let's say you say that after 5 years, let's say maybe in 6 months, I want 10,000 t-shirts. Okay, so in 6 months, like yesterday you said, ma'am, make me 5 t-shirts. I'll say, okay, tomorrow come over and take these 5 t-shirts. Very small thing, I can easily make it. But you say, ma'am, I want 10,000 t-shirts. I just have one machinery. If I utilize it maximum also, it can produce only 5,000 t-shirts. So I have to install the second machinery, no? So if 6 months is the time period which is long enough to even change the fixed factor of production, that is what is known as the long run production function. But if the time period is so brief, so small that I cannot change my fixed factor of production, only variable factor of production can be changed. That is what is known as the short run production function. So I hope that must be mentally clear to everybody now. What is the short run production function and what is the long run production function? Okay. I would like to have doubts with regard to it up till this topic, please. Put it in the chat box and then we can move for the Cobb-Douglas production function. Please put me the queries right away. Okay. Come on, I'm waiting for your doubts, please. Yes, somebody has put it. Industrial relations. What is industrial relations? What are you talking about industrial relations? Can you please elaborate the query? Yes, Yukta, what about industrial relationships? Ishika, supernormal profit is something, for example, I'll tell you in a very simple layman's language. You are running a coffee cafe, a cafe which is basically for coffee and snacks, etc. Every other cafe is earning 10% of the profit, but you are earning 20% of profit. Okay. Everybody, I said, in the industry, every cafe in your area, wherever you are staying, for example, you stay in Jaipur. So let's say you are every cafe, cafe A, cafe B, cafe C, cafe D, and cafe Ishika, they all should earn 10%, which is a normal rate of profit. Okay. 10%, 10%, 10%, and 10%. Correct. But Ishika is earning 15%. That 5% extra profit that you are earning, maybe because of any other factors, that is known as supernormal profit. Over and above the normal profit is known as the supernormal profit in a very simple language. I hope, Ishika, it's clear. Okay, perfect. Yukta saying enterprise problem, you are not able to understand the problem of industrial relationships. Okay, now I get it. So when you talk about the enterprise problem, let me take it here back to you. Here. Now, whenever we talk about industrial relationships, please understand, see, initially what happened was this, that um, let's compare your generation with the generation of your parents and your grandparents. Understand it very simply. If you see your grandparents, they must be working all the 7 days. Look at your parents, they must be working 6 days or max to max. Yeah, we can take it roughly 6 days. Sunday, they must be taking an off. Some parents even do not take that off also. Look at your generation, my generation, our generation. We want to have a good leisure life. We want to have a good work balance. And your personal life has to be maintained with your work life also. Correct. What are now you looking forward when you go to a job? You say that, okay, I will work Monday to Friday, but Saturday, Sunday, I want to spend time with my family. I want to go out. I want to have a good time. Problem comes in the industries nowadays is this, that the workers and the employers, they have a very conflicting behavior. There's a great misunderstanding. There's a major conflict of interest. The things are getting much more complicated. Major problem here says that an equilibrium has to be maintained. A behavior is to be maintained wherein we need to understand how my workers are going to be managed, how the whole system is going to be managed, wherein the industry will take place in sync with the workers, that is the employees of the organization. This is what is the problem relating to the industrial relations. Yukta, is it clear to you now? Okay. Perfect. Let's go ahead. When we talk about the production function, that is the Codd-Douglas production function, please understand that it says that whatever the production function is not just to the individual firm, but to the whole manufacturing in the United States. They say that the manufacturing output is always the function of the labor and capital. So whenever we talk about labor and capital, we have a simple concept that the labor and capital, when they come together and they give an output, that is what is the Cobb-Douglas production function. It says they are linearly working, linearly related. Linearly related means you put more labor, you put more capital, the production automatically or the output automatically is going to increase. So that is given by the Cobb-Douglas production function. Okay. Now, next is the law of variable proportion and the law of diminishing returns. Very, very important. When you talk about the law of variable proportions and law of diminishing returns, it says that first thing that you need to understand that when you increase the quantity of one input, the other fixed factors, keeping the other factor as constant, and you just increase the variable factors, the total product first increases. Now, what is total product? Total product basically means the total output that you generate by putting the input. What is average product? Average product is total product divided by the quantity. What is the marginal product? Please understand marginal in economics means additional. So marginal products is the additional output that you generate with the production of output. So whenever we talk about the average product is total product divided by quantity. Marginal product is equal to TPN minus TPN minus 1. I'll tell you with an example what is it. It basically means, so for example, if I used 2 unit of input, my total product comes out to be 10. And when I use 3 input, my total product comes out to be 15, let's say. That is 1 extra unit of input. You get 5 units of output. Okay. So this unit of input, when it gets extra, the output generated becomes 5. That is what is known as the marginal product. So marginal product is TPN minus TPN minus 1, that is 15 minus 10, that is equal to 5. Okay, so this marginal product of 5 units is what is known as the additional output. Okay, so when you talk about the production function says how your input is behaving with respect to the output. That is what is giving you the production function. So whenever we talk about the average product and marginal product, obviously it gets derived by the total product. How do you derive average product? Average product is TP divided by Q. And how do you derive the marginal product? Marginal product is change in quantity upon change in input. Okay. So whenever we talk about the average product and the marginal product, first thing that we need to understand, it rises as the rise of the increase in the quantity of the variable input. Okay, so when the average product is maximum, the marginal product is equal to average product, and this is how it is going to go. Okay. Now, the law of variable proportion simply says that if technology is constant, if some inputs are fixed, the other inputs are variable, we always have a very simple relationship. And the relationship says that initially the total product increases at an increasing rate, then increases at a diminishing rate, and eventually it starts falling. Please understand it. I'm repeating, there are 2-3 conditions which are kept in this. First, the state of technology is constant. Second point is when the fixed product or the fixed input is constant, the variable input changes. So let's talk about the outcome on the total output or the total output. And what does that total product or the total output says? That total product or total output says whenever the production initially increases, it increases at an increasing rate, then increases at a diminishing rate, then starts falling. Okay. So whenever we talk about this fact, we need to understand how the stage of increasing returns takes place. Okay. In the first stage, if you see, look at this diagram. You see there's this point of inflection. Why is this called as point of inflection? At the point of inflection, the speed changes. So stage 1 is the stage of increasing returns, which says that the total product increases at an increasing rate up to the point number F. Okay. Here the marginal product is also rising and is at maximum. Okay. Now, what is the law of increasing returns here? The law of increasing returns basically says that the production increases at a rapid change. Okay. If the people were working, now they have started doing division of work. They have started delegating the work. They have started distributing their responsibility. And the moment you start distributing your responsibility, none of the person get overburdened. If none of the person gets overburdened, the efficiency is going to come high. Okay. Second is the stage of diminishing returns. The stage of diminishing returns is when the maximum point reaches when the total product becomes the maximum product. This is wherein the stage ends, and here the both marginal product and the average product is going to diminishing, but are positive. Okay, in this case, what happens is this, that the variable factors has been added, but now what happens is this, primarily because many people have started working, the proper utilization of resource is not taking place. Maybe on one machine you are putting 10 members, they are not able to get the benefit. Okay. Third is the diminishing returns. What is diminishing returns? Diminishing returns says things are getting negative now. Your business is not running properly. There is a negative earning to attach to it. Marginal product is becoming negative. The total quantity is extremely excessive as compared to the fixed factors. So what happens is this, that the total output now starts falling. It becomes negative. So this is the three stages wherein the people work. But which is going to be the ideal stage? I will obviously not work in the negative stage. Who would like to have negative returns? I will not work even in the first stage. Why? Because here I believe that the production can still be increased. So the stage wherein I believe that the maximum best return can take place is neither going to be stage 1 nor going to be stage 3. It is going to be stage 2. Stage 2 is wherein the rational producer will always produce. Why? Because it is that point wherein the factors of production are properly utilized. Okay. Next is return to scale. This is what we have talked about, the returns to factors of production, wherein we were keeping one factors as variable, one factors as fixed. This was a short run mechanism. Let's talk about long run. What happens there? In the long run, in the returns to scale, what happens is this, everything goes on smoothly. All the factors can be changed. Okay, when I say all the factors can be changed, can I call it as a long run period only? Because it is the long run time period wherein all the factors, be it variable or fixed, changes. And in fact, all of them become the variable. Okay, so in returns to scale, all the factors of production are increased or decreased in the same proportion. Okay, the change in output will be such manner that yes, the output either is going to be constant returns to scale, increasing returns to scale, or decreasing returns to scale. So here it is not a upward sloping curve, it's a flat curve. If there's a 10% increase, the working takes place 20%. That's increasing returns to scale. Input goes 10%, return comes out to be 20%. Decreasing is input goes 30%, output comes only 10%. What is constant? Constant is simple. Constant says 10% input increase, 10% output increase. Finish. Again, here the Cobb-Douglas production function is primarily to give you the returns to scale sequence, because it says that when you increase the production and the output comes manifold, that's increasing returns. When increase is the production is basically equivalent to that, that is going to be constant. And the decreasing returns to scale says that it goes in the different manner. Okay. Now, what is the production optimization? Production optimization is one function which is absolutely like what we used to discuss about isoquants and isocost. So isoquant and isocost is primarily what is the indifference curve that we had in the consumer behavior. Same, you put it in the production manner. So it tells you what combination of inputs are available to produce the level of output. How the inputs are going to be utilized to give the output, that is what is known as the isoquant. Okay, so if you look at this diagram, there are various factor combination, factor X, factor Y. Look at this. What is the MRTS? That is the marginal rate of technical substitution. And this marginal rate of technical substitution simply tells you one thing, that you are indifferent amongst which production to be made. be it A, B, C, D, E, you are absolutely equal to it. Factor X is 1, factor Y is 12. Factor X is 2, factor Y is 8. Factor X is 3, here 5. You see, eventually what is happening is this, it is saying that the marginal rate of technical substitution are non-intersecting. The indifference curve, like for example, even they used to not collide each other. They never used to coincide each other. Why? Because they say that the indifference curve will not take place. Same ways with the isoquant. Isoquant is absolutely what indifference curve was for to the consumer. It says if you have to produce one good extra, you have to take out the resource from the production of the another good and put it in that good. So if you have to increase the factor X, you have to reduce the factor Y. If you have to reduce the factor Y, you have to increase the factor X. And this is how only the output is going to be managed in such a way that the producer is going to be at ease. But please understand, you have to utilize this isoquant with the budget line. What is budget line? Budget line is what two factors that the firm can buy with their given resources. For example, a firm has 1,000 rupees to spend on two factors, be it X and Y. There are two raw material which are to be utilized. I know that fact that I have a limitation of 1,000 rupees only. If factor X is of 10 rupees, I can maximum buy 10 units, 100 units, sorry. If factor Y is of 20 rupees, I can maximum buy it of 50 units. This is how this whole X and Y are going to get work. So ISO cost line, when the entire 1,000 rupees is to be spent on something, you have to understand how this whole outlay is going to take place. Okay. So this line AB is also called as ISO cost line. When you put it with the ISO quant, you get the maximum level of production. Look at this. The ISO cost line with the ISO quant curve. This point C is the ideal situation wherein the production should take place. Why? Because it is the maximum amount. I have it in my pocket as an entrepreneur, and that is the maximum amount of production I can do. Beyond, if I want to go on point A and E, I don't have money in my hand. I am also having limited resources, capital resources. If I talk about point number L and L1, line L and L1, why would I go? I have more money. Why not going for more production? So the most ideal situation that you can have is the point number C. I hope this is clear to everybody. That finishes your production part. Let's quickly come towards the cost. Okay. Just 1 second. Okay. I hope this theory of cost is clear to you. Let's quickly cover what all the cost of the concept of cost says. Now you are through with how the production takes place. We have four major factors: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. They put together. You convert them into a process and you get the output, that is the product. Now, when you get the product, when you get the output, you primarily have two kinds of concept, that is the short run and the long run. Short run is that time period wherein one factor can be fixed, another can be variable. Long run is that factor wherein all the factors can be variable. Okay. So now when we come towards new concept, that is cost. What is a cost? Very, very, very important determinant to understand how the whole analysis takes place. So whenever I talk about theory of cost, let's first understand what are the different kind of cost that one has. So cost is that part which is the inherent value of that particular product. Now there are two things to it. When I talk about cost, there is one thing that is the implicit cost. There is another thing that is the explicit cost. Now let's understand that very clearly. For example, if I'm working in my own business, I do not charge my own salary. I have started my factory in my own house, so I do not charge that rent of mine. Such kind of cost is known as the implied cost or the implicit cost. But understand it this way. Had it been me not using that land for my business, If I would have taken that particular area of land on a rental basis, I would have paid some rent, and that rent which I pay to an external party is called as an outlay cost or an explicit cost. So the cost which an entrepreneur pays out of his own pocket is known as the explicit cost. But the cost for which you do not expect the return for yourselves, like for example, salary for the entrepreneur himself, maybe the rent on his own owned property, etc., that is what is known as the implicit cost. Next is the outlay cost, like I said, and the third one is the opportunity cost. So, for example, if you all are, let's say, 18 years old, pretty eligible to work in the organization. Now, what happens is this: you all are studying, and because you are studying, you are not working anywhere. So, what is the sacrifice that you are making to study? Maybe a job of 10,000 rupees at a part time, some kind of a KPO or BPO, etc. Opportunity cost is the best alternative that you are foregoing to get another opportunity. That is what is known as opportunity cost. Please understand. You would say, ma'am, it is not paid out of my pocket. No, but this is something that you are losing. How can you not account it for? So whenever a cost analysis is made, you always even take into consideration the opportunity cost to decide whether that particular activity has to be done or should not be done. If I'm studying for chartered accountancy course, I'm sacrificing for a 10,000 job. Why? Because I know down the line 5 years, when I become a chartered accountant, I will get a job of 1 lakh rupees. So to sacrifice that 10,000, I'm gaining 90,000 more and I will get an income of 1 lakh rupees. That is what is an opportunity. Is it clear up till here? Please, I want it in the chat box. If there's any doubt, please give it to me right away. Any doubt up till here? Next is direct or traceable cost and indirect or non-traceable cost. Okay. Okay, perfect. So I believe there's no doubt. Parul has responded. There's no doubt. I can even let me check on the point there. Just 1 second. Let's have a look over the other query areas also, if there's any query there. Okay. Yes, Sri, I'll tell you outlay cost. 1 second, please. Okay, Chaman wants to understand implicit cost also. Please understand what is implicit cost. Implicit cost is something which is on your own pocket. Okay. Implied cost. For example, if I say I have a house and let's say I'm running a factory there making t-shirts there. Am I giving rent to myself? No, I'm not giving rent to myself. Such kind of a cost, which is owned by the resources, the entrepreneur himself or herself own the resources and do not pay out of the pocket. That's known as the implied cost or implicit. One thing. Outlay cost, the cost you paid to somebody else. So Tisha is running a factory of t-shirt manufacturing and hired Ram for the services and pay salary of 5,000 to Ram. That's an outlay cost. Clear? Tisha is running a factory of t-shirts and her own house she has used as a factory and she does not pay rent of 2000 rupees to herself. In that area, if a place has been taken for rent, its rent is 2000 rupees, but you are not paying it to yourself. Such kind of cost is known as the implicit cost or the implied cost. Is it now clear, Ms. Kaur? Okay. Next is accounting cost. What is accounting cost? Okay. Now, what is accounting cost? Accounting cost basically says that if you pay wages to the worker employed, if you pay prices for the raw material, if you pay fuel and power, etc., all these things are the part of your cost of production and you have to pay it as an accounting. Okay. So this means that is the explicit cost that you have to pay to the outsiders. That is the accounting cost. But what is economic cost? Economic cost simply says one fact. And what does that fact say? That fact says, okay, I understand you are not paying salary to yourself. But how long will you work only for gratuitously or maybe just out of love and affection? You, if go into the market and you do a job, you easily get a salary of 10,000 rupees. Why are you losing on that? Economic cost says you better take care of even your outlay cost and your implied cost altogether. If you are not into the business, you would have gone somewhere and worked and you would have got a salary. So the economic cost also takes the cost in additional into the account. So again, the concept of economic cost is important. Why? Because the entrepreneur must cover his economic cost to earn normal profit. Normal profit is always part of the implicit cost. Okay. What is the outlay cost? Like I said, the outlay cost is what you actually pay outside. Be it rent, salary, wages, material, everything. That's outlay cost. Clear, Sri? What is opportunity cost? It is something which I'm sacrificing to get something else better. That is the opportunity cost. So, for example, you are studying right now rather than doing a job, part-time job, etc. That sacrifice that you are making to gain something more advantageous is known as opportunity. What is the direct or traceable cost? Direct or traceable cost is something which can be traced in the output, that is manufacturing a product. For example, I'll tell you one very simple example. You manufacture a t-shirt. Okay. When you manufacture a t-shirt, you know for one t-shirt, 1 meter of cloth is there. 1 meter of cloth is 20 rupees. So that 20 rupees can be directly traceable in that particular t-shirt. That is the direct cost. But if you are using fuel in the machinery, you are using electronic power, etc., which is common, which is there for the general operations of the business. Can you utilize it jointly? Can you take it out jointly? Such kind of thing is known as the indirect cost. So indirect cost is not easily identifiable. I cannot tell no that what kind of electricity was utilized to manufacture this t-shirt. Very difficult for me to understand. Next is incremental cost. The cost which is marginal cost, additional cost incurred. That is known as the incremental cost. What is the sunk cost, which is the kind of cost which is already done, already incurred, cannot be recovered. For example, your cost on advertising, your cost on research and development. That sunk cost is something which creates a barrier to the entry of the firm. Like research and development, a major expense. Advertising, a major expense. Okay. So this is a barrier to the entry of the firm in the business. Historical cost, something which has been already done. For example, the money expenditure that has to be incurred for replacing an old asset. That's a replacement cost. Historical cost, which has already been done. For example, the cost which is done to buy a machine, to buy a building. Okay. Private cost and social cost. Private cost is the cost which is either explicit or implicit. Social cost is something you are doing for which the whole society bears. For example, I am producing plastic polythene bags and the residue I'm putting it in the water. I am creating environment harm. I am creating pollution. So the cost which is done by me and borne by you, that is society, that is the social cost. What is the private cost? Paid by me. Implicit or explicit, whatever, it's paid by me. What is a fixed cost? Which is fixed. For example, if I am renting this space to deliver lecture to ICAI students, be it 5,000 students behind the screen, be it 5 lakh students behind the screen. I give, for example, 100 rupees rent. That's a fixed cost. But let's say, for example, I have to print notes and send it to you. If there's one student, I will print a copy of 10 rupees. If there are 100 students, 10 into 100,000 rupees. So the cost which changes with the output, variable, the cost which is fixed, irrespective of the output, that is the fixed cost. I would like you all to go through all these topics right now. Give me the doubts. Then only I will proceed further. Please. The some part of this topic would go to the next class. So the next class, we will have it for the next topic. But yes, maybe the initial 10, 12 minutes I will take for covering this topic and then we will proceed further. Okay? Because I want that at least whatever I'm teaching, it should be easily a good revision for you all. Just don't want to complete it for the sake of completion. Okay? But make sure before you come for the class, go through the topic very thoroughly. Because until and unless you do not read the detailed lectures, it becomes very problematic. Okay. Any doubts that anybody's got? Only the doubts of the topics we have covered up till now. Any doubts that you have? Anybody? Okay. So there is no doubt as such. Okay, so now cost function. Cost function is basically the relationship between what is the cost of products and what are the determinants of the product. Okay, so the cost function basically is the relationship between the cost and the determinants of cost. So for example, what are your factors of production? What is the cost of it? What is the actual cost of it? Okay, so there are two kinds, short run and long run. Again, we'll take it. Short run cost has got fixed cost, variable cost, and obviously the summation of both total cost. But when I talk about the long run, all the factors are variable, so it will be variable cost. Now, first, let's understand what is variable cost. The cost on variable factors of production. So, like for example, on cloth, that is variable cost. What is fixed cost? Cost on fixed factors of production. If it's fixed factors of production, that would be fixed cost. For example, cost on machinery. Okay. Now, when I add them together, variable cost and fixed cost, that will be known as the total cost. So this total cost is something which is equal to variable cost plus the fixed cost. Okay. So whenever we talk about the cost function is the relationship between the cost of product and the determinants of cost. Here we have the short run total cost. In short run total cost, we have the fixed cost, variable cost, and the total cost. Fixed cost is the only cost only on the fixed factors of production. Variable cost is the cost only on the variable factors of production. And when you summate it together, that is known as the total cost. Okay. Look at this diagram. The best example while I explain you the fixed cost is the rent. If I have one student, I have to pay 5,000 as rent. If I have zero student, no student in the class, still I have to pay 5,000 rent. If there are 1 lakh students virtually available in the class, still I have to pay 5,000 rent. The output varies, but the cost remains same. Output varies, but the cost remains same. It is known as the fixed cost. Is it clear? Let's go to variable cost. Now look at this good remarkable situation. Even at zero level, the cost is there. Let's talk about another cost, that is the variable cost. And what is variable cost? Variable cost is wherein the cost changes with the change in output. So if the cost output is 0, the cost is 0. If the output is 1, cost is 10. If the output is 20, cost is 200. What is happening? When the output increases, cost also increases. So if there's 1 meter of cloth, one t-shirt, so 10 rupees cost. If I make 5 t-shirt, the cost is 50 rupees. If I make 10 t-shirt, the cost is 100 rupees. Such kind of cost is known as variable cost, wherein the cost changes with the level of output. Okay, look at the diagram here. It starts at 0. Why? Because if there's 0 t-shirt, no cloth. If there's 0 t-shirt, there will be no clothing. If there will be no clothing, there will be no cost. But when I was talking about rent, even if no student, still rent was to be paid, fixed charge. Clear? So whenever I talk about the fixed cost, it is something which is stagnant. If I talk about variable cost, it is something which keeps on varying. It keeps on changing. Okay. I would like to stop here and I would ask if there's any doubt, please let me know right away. Any doubt up till here? Okay. So if there's no doubt, I would like to close the topic here because I don't want to take it to the semi-variable today. It will create confusion. And I would like you all to review all these topics for the next class. And I will take 15 minutes in the next class to cover this topic of the cost. Okay. Meanwhile, I would request Ashok sir, please, you can unmute the students. And if there's any doubt that they would like to ask, they can please ask me. Any student has got any problem, any doubt? Yes, Parul. Yes, Parul, you can unmute and speak, please.
गुड आफ्टरनून मैम।
Good afternoon, Parul.
मैम मैंने ये पूछना था कि जो मॉक टेस्ट हो रहे हैं हमारे इकोनॉमिक्स के और सब्जेक्ट्स के, उसमें ये फुल सिलेबस आएगा?
जी, जो टेस्ट होंगे आपके वो फुल सिलेबस के ही प्रिपरेशन के लिए होते हैं। मॉक टेस्ट का मतलब क्या हुआ? बिल्कुल एग्जाम वाले पैटर्न में आपको तैयार करवाना। तो उस हिसाब से ही आपको पढ़ाई करना पड़ेगा।
ओके।
एनीबडी एल्स? Any other person with any other doubt? Okay, so we can sign off today and let's meet up in the next class and we will continue from here. Just 15 minutes for this topic and then we will start with the new topic as per the class. Thank you, everybody. All the very best for your studies. Thank you and have a great day. Thank you. Ashok sir, we can close the class. जी जी, thank you.